Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 52 units of real estate. So I had a great question in the comments asking, what's the benefit of doing seller finance to the seller? So in this specific example, I just threw out that I wanted a 5-year term and I would pay 5% interest only and I would purchase the property for $800,000. So overall, at a high level, the benefit of creative financing, it's typically supposed to be win-win for me as the buyer and then the person as the seller. So let me talk about the benefits as me as a buyer. So as a buyer, the benefits of creative financing is that's how you could buy deals without getting banks involved. The moment you have a bank involved, they're going to pull a lot more documents. They're going to ask for tax returns. They're going to ask for proof of skill if you have a track record. They're going to ask for bank statements, your net worth. They might pull a credit score. Each lender varies, but in any case, you're providing some sort of financial documents. You're providing some sort of resume to show that you have past experience in doing this and you're successful in doing this. And it just requires a lot of work, right? You're at the mercy of the loan officer and the underwriter and the bank. So, it just makes it a lot of headache. It takes a lot longer to get things done, even if you're organized. So, obviously, with that, that's kind of a downside. Another benefit of creative financing is you can negotiate your down payment. Like when you buy real estate using a commercial loan, it's typically 25% down. But when it's creative financing, I like it because I can do low money down, right? And I can spread out my down payment over a few years. Let's just say I want to do 10% down, and I might do 2% over 5 years. So I give 2% year, at the close of escrow, 2% year 1, 2% year 2, 2% year 3, and so on, right? And then you can defer interest payments to the owner. So what's amazing about creative financing is me as the buyer, I can choose my terms almost, or the seller can choose their terms, right? So it makes for a lot faster for closing. If you don't have to go through a bank, you have to go through underwriting, you have to go through all these rigorous inspections. Like you can close on a deal after just doing your due diligence. So what's due diligence? That's your physical inspection, your financial inspection. And if all checks out, and it gets insured, then great. You can close this in as fast as 2 to 3 weeks. So you can close a lot faster as the buyer. And another thing, so that's kind of some benefits that I touched upon as the buyer. So obviously I can buy faster. I can get more creative in terms of terms. So like lower down payment. I can defer payments, I can choose my terms, and I don't have to go through all those documents that I have to submit to the lender, and you're at the mercy of the underwriter. So that's kind of the benefit to the buyer, and as a buyer, I can offer a higher price because I don't have to go through the rigorousness of a traditional bank and not really held to an appraisal per se, right? So what are the benefits for the seller? So the first main benefit to the seller is, number one, it's a quick sell. If you want to sell a property traditionally, it takes about 60 to 90 days. And given all the strict underwriting requirements in today's climate in 2024, it's really challenging. Like it took me, for context, 90 days to do a cash out refinance on a property that I already owned. And I already had a relationship with this bank. It's BMO Bank. And it was so challenging because they're scrutinizing every tax return. They're looking at my track record, my P&L. Like they want to turn every pebble because interest rates skyrocketed and banks are being very cautious. And as they should be, right? So if you want to sell something fast and easy, then great. Like seller finance is a way to go. If you still want to get consistent income, because when you own apartments to the point where they're owned free and clear, you own real estate for a long time. At least 20, 30 years. So you're used to getting monthly money. Yes, some of the money is allocated towards expenses and repairs. That always happens when you own real estate. But now you're getting consistent money and you don't have to deal with any tenants, no repairs, nothing. You become the bank. You upgrade from being the investor to becoming the bank. And you're moving up on the totem pole is how I see it. Like I want to get to that point too. I don't want to deal with tenants and toilets and all the repairs. I just want consistent income without headache. And that's what, when you seller finance a deal, it becomes. So I get consistent income still, right? And you can pass off that consistent income to your kids or your grandchildren. but you're still getting consistent monthly income. Also, by doing seller financing, you defer capital gains tax. So you only pay capital gains on the down payment, right? So capital gains tax is a step up scale. You can Google long-term capital gains tax for the US, and it gives you the breakdown. So I think the first, like maybe around $50,000 is it's 0% tax. And then from 50,000 to like, I think 250,000, it's about 10%. Anything above $250,000 is about 20%. So, for simplicity, I just like to do 20%. So let's just say I bought a property, I sold a property for $1 million, and my cost basis was $500,000. So when I sell it, $500,000 that's going to be taxed as long-term capital gains tax, assuming I own this for over a year. So just for simplicity of math, let's just say it's 20%. So I'm going to pay $100,000 in capital gains tax. However, if I sold it and I got, let's just say, a down payment of, let's just say I sold it for $1 million, I got 10% down, I'm only paying capital gains tax on $100,000, right? If I were to break that over 2 years, it's $50,000 each year, which means I pay zero tax on that $50,000. So it's a tax saving strategy as well as getting income, right? Consistent income. And what's nice too is like by becoming the bank, the seller. So typically the terms I negotiate is it depends on the seller, right? So if they want I want the longer term, because the longer term I get, it gives me more time to renovate the property, to raise the rents over time, to increase the net operating income, to increase the value, to do my value add strategy so that before my balloon payment is due. So traditional banks, best case you get 10-year term. So that means in 10 years you get the refinance or pay it off. Those are your two options. And with seller financing, you can negotiate whatever you want. You can do a 5-year balloon. You can do a 7-year, a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, whatever balloon you want, or no balloon. You just can pay this indefinitely. But the purpose of it is to basically say, okay, let's just say that the seller doesn't want seller finance for a long term. They just want a 5-year term. So typically how seller financing works is I'm going to offer higher than probably what it appraised at, and I'll do a 5-year term. So in the 5 years, my hope is that I can renovate the property, raise the rents to market rent, and have natural market rent appreciation over time. And if I can manage this property efficiently by managing the expenses well, my net operating increases, the value increases. And what I want to do is I want to do a cash out refinance where I get a lender involved, another lender, let's say it's BMO, and then hopefully I bought it for $1 million and now it's worth $1.5 million in this optimistic rosy picture. And if I do 75% loan to value, I basically can pay off the prior, the seller who became the bank, get all my initial money back, and then I own the property now with $0 in the deal for infinite return. So it's kind of like doing a perfect BRRRR. So that's the real strategy. But now the issue becomes, okay, well, you just said, Steven, that you can overpay for a property as long as you get your terms. And yes, I say that because, okay, let's just say I give the seller $1 million because he's a self-financing me the deal, but in reality, it's only worth $800,000. So I'm overpaying for this property, and that may sound stupid, but how I protect myself is that, okay, let's say I have a 5-year term. I will put in the seller financing agreement, because everything's negotiable, in 5 years, if I cannot cash out refinance, get this appraised, and cannot get another lender to give me money in this deal, this agreement will extend for another 5 years. So if I negotiated 5-year term at 5% interest only, and let's just say I bought it for $1 million, and then 5 years later, it doesn't appraise for $1 million, or it's less than $1 million, then at that point, this automatically will be extended, right? So, and most sellers will always bite on this agreement because they're overconfident that their property is going to appreciate and be worth more than that in 5 years. That's most owners. That's how you get them, right? So of course they'll sign it because they think, oh, well, of course my property is going to appraise at $1 million in 5 years, even though it's worth $800,000 now, because I think it's worth $1 million right now. So you get them to buy that, and then worst case, in 5 years, when you get, appraisals and lenders involved, it just automatically gets extended. And you show the proof, right? You'll show the appraisals, you'll show the lenders, and it'll automatically be proof in another 5 years. But that's contingent on, obviously, that only works if it's cash flowing, right? Like your property has a cash flow to sustain. So that's another way to protect yourself. But like for me, I don't try to go too crazy of overbidding. Like typically I like to, whatever price they want, that's the seller financing price that I'll give them. And then my true offer, if you were to involve traditional banking, is going to be significantly less, right? It's going to be the net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So in my 18 unit example, he wants $800,000. I would buy the deal of seller finance at $800,000. But if he wants me traditional bank finance this, I would offer him $600,000, right? It'd be $200,000 less based on the net operating income divided by market cap rate. So NOI is about 60,000, cap rate's 10, so offer would be 600,000, right? So that's how I would structure that deal. So what's the benefit of all this to the seller, right? So like once again, the seller, if I did a 5-year term, they're gonna get that 5% interest for the next 5 years. That's benefit number one. So they become the bank for 5 years. They get 5% interest on their money for the next 5 years. That's benefit number one. Benefit number two is at the end of the balloon payment, well, they're gonna get paid out, assuming that, I raise the rents, I raise the NOI, and the value goes up. I can get a lender in and do a cash out refinance, pay them off. So they get their money back. And they got interest for the past 5 years at 5%. Number three is their capital gains taxes spread out over time and less. Number four is they can sell their property faster and still get consistent income, right? So like I said, this isn't for everybody. Like some sellers I talk to, they always say no. Maybe they don't understand it well enough, or maybe they just don't want it. They just want the money and be done with it, right? So that's how I'm trying to engage with the seller. Like it's the 18 units under contract, unfortunately, but I know that a lot of deals fall out of escrow. So once it falls out of escrow, the sellers are being paid. So what solves pain? It's seller financing, and it's just being able to educate the seller about seller financing and how that looks. So that's really what it is. So it's kind of a quick answer or kind of long rant to answer your question, but that's the benefits of seller financing to the seller and to me as the buyer. So like I said, I bought my mobile home park with seller financing, and I sold my mobile home park for seller financing, and I thought it was a win-win for both of us either way. So anyways, hopefully it's answered your question. If you want to buy your first multifamily deal, you're stuck with single family, you want to scale to multifamily, check out the Making Multifamily Money mentorship program in the link down below. If you want to join a school community of like-minded individuals, check out my school community down below as well. Otherwise, please let me know what questions you have. Please like, comment, subscribe. Share this video with somebody who can find value. Hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.